That sound. Boom. Boom. Ow! That didn't come from the troglodytes. No, that came from something else.
This is Stranger Things Season 1, and this is a shot from the trailer of Stranger Things Season 5. Notice anything different? Yeah, the kids are grown adults now. This is an unfortunate byproduct of how TV is produced in 2025. Multi-year gaps in between seasons, inflated budgets, and decreased episode orders. The cumulative effects of these seismic shifts has fundamentally altered the way we consume television, and we're not going to be escaping this blast radius anytime soon. Television. The comforting warm glow of that familiar friend, the tube. It practically raised 3 generations of Americans. But now things seem to be different. That alluring soft static doesn't seem to come around as much as it used to. The characters we love, the shows we obsess over, and the familiar iconography that sparks obsession, friendship, and discussion. It disappears for years at a time. The cultural impact of TV doesn't seem to be what it used to. Severance, Stranger Things, even Wednesday, these are shows that have all had to fight to overcome the years-long gap in between seasons, and so far, they've been successful.
I have no choice.
Well, every time you find yourself here, it's because you chose to come back.
But many shows haven't. Great shows like The OA, The Expanse, or Mindhunter got canceled due to poor ratings, because literal years passed in between seasons. Let's take a cold, hard look at this though. Are the shows we consume over streaming actually television? It feels like TV and it looks better than TV, but it just isn't television. Modern audiences have adopted impossibly high standards. It used to be a TV show was 22 episodes of a guy trapped on a cardboard set dealing with annoying neighbors. And we loved it. And sometimes he was from space.
Hello? Anybody in there?
And that model worked for decades. Then it all started to change when shows like The Sopranos, Game of Thrones, and Dexter came on the scene. They started to feel more like movies than what we've come to know as television. Serialized chunks of high production value and brilliant acting. They were more expensive to produce, but HBO or Showtime were raking in monthly subscriber fees to offset that cost. These shows were the outliers, not the norm. They were the crown jewel. Most shows were this. This is Baywatch Nights, a real TV show that was produced and intended to be watched by humans. However, that's not the world we live in anymore. Now everything is a movie, even if it doesn't feel like it. Citadel, the Russo brothers' spy show, cost over $300 million to produce a single season. It received middling reviews and left no cultural impact. It's almost as if the show didn't happen at all.
You really need to get out of my way, buddy.
They wiped your memories.
And therein lies the problem. That's an immense amount of money to spend on a single season of television, and that's the expectation now. Streaming platforms are placing bets in attempts to pull in viewers by taking massive swings. They don't put any muscle behind their sitcoms, reality shows, or dramas. They're only trying to hit a home run every at-bat. And it's ruining the ecosystem of television. The shows being produced are never given the proper amount of time to find themselves. Seinfeld doesn't get good until season 3. Star Trek The Next Generation took almost 4 seasons to fully evolve, and that's with 22 episode seasons.
We have been experiencing a harmonic amplification effect.
The more energy we dumped into the shield, the worse the impact.
Precisely.
Audiences today are so used to having the widest amount of selection possible. They don't want to settle for anything other than what's perceived as the best. And why would a streaming platform dump money into something that's not working when they can start over from scratch and get it right the first time? It wasn't always this way. There used to be a healthy middle class of TV being produced. Syndicated shows that had modest budgets and were structured to have characters you love trapped in a single location. ER, Friends, Cheers, Frasier, the list goes on. It's endless. Who cares that there's not explosions going off every 5 minutes? But as is central to the human condition, we weren't satisfied with enough. We needed more, and more needs more time, bigger budgets, and higher production value. So after the spark of the success of the first wave of prestige TV, every production company, network, and studio started to chase the goal of having their own awards bait epic.
Say my name. Heisenberg. You're goddamn right.
Cut to now, and that's just what all of TV is. Huge swings and no middle class. When Game of Thrones first started, it was created with a big budget and high production value, but even so, new seasons came out relatively quickly. However, as the show got deeper and deeper into its run, the more dragons started showing up. The budget got inflated, the timelines were extended, and the VFX requirements reached almost unthinkable levels. Every episode was basically a feature film by the end of its run. This is just standard now, and it's killing TV. Secret Invasion had a production budget of $220 million for a single season of television, essentially $36 million per episode. Get Out was produced on a budget of $4.5 million, 1/4 of the budget of one episode of Secret Invasion. These streaming platforms are hoping that these big swings and shows based on big IP will bring in droves of new subscribers, offsetting budgets with subscriber growth. Not current subscriber fees, mind you, new subscriber growth. But are there really that many people that don't have Disney Plus already? With a budget this large, was the Secret Invasion ever really going to be deemed a success? How is success even measured? Would it have needed to pull in 500 million in new subscribers? How many different platforms are we all realistically supposed to pay for? As an added frustration, this also means people are able to binge watch the full seasons immediately. So it's very difficult for shows to leave a deep cultural impression. Stranger Things Season 4 has been off the air for so long, can you even remember how it ended? Like, can you actually remember where we left the characters? 3 years is just too long to wait in between seasons. And yes, there were 2 strikes. That's a bit of a mitigating circumstance, but at the same time, that's not unusual. The gap between season 1 and 2 of Severance was also 3 years. This isn't an outlier situation. Ahsoka Season 2, supposed to be out in 2026, 3 years after the first season. House of the Dragon, 2 years. The Last of Us, 2 years. Even long gestating prestige adaptations like The Sandman, 3 years. This isn't becoming the norm, it is the norm.
Why did you do this? What is this all about?
So, how do we fix this problem? How do you cut down the production times for these streaming shows? Well, one way to do it is to make cheaper shows. Programs that don't require tons of special effects or elaborate set pieces. Between Wednesday Season 1 premiering and Wednesday Season 2 premiering, Jenna Ortega was in 7 feature films, including Beetlejuice 2 and Scream 6. That's just not sustainable. We need more shows like Star Trek Strange New Worlds or The Bear, which produced 4 seasons in 3 years. During Netflix's initial push into streaming, they had some big budget swings like Orange is the New Black and House of Cards, but they also had shows like Lilyhammer or the Will Arnett vehicle Flaked. These were lower budgeted, still high quality shows that were attempting to tell a story in a specific monetary range. Most of the episodes of Flaked involved Arnett just biking around Venice and talking to people in coffee shops. Overall, it feels like now might be the best time to really start experimenting with how we deliver content to people. The streaming bubble has definitely burst. People are frustrated with how long it takes in between seasons, and the high production quality doesn't seem to offset those emotions. And the cultural ripple effect of the movieization of TV has definitely yielded some amazing artistic steps forward, but if no one shows up to watch those adventurous narratives, doesn't matter? The fabric of film discussion is completely different now than it used to be. Water cooler talk just isn't a thing. Even the discourse that would happen on Twitter has completely died. The shows that do break through and are a joint obsession for people of all walks of life seem to only have a cultural footprint of a few weeks until the next fleeting obsession begins. How many times have you started to have a conversation with one of your friends about a show and they've been like, "No spoilers, I'm only on episode 3. When episodes came out weekly and were appointment viewing, it gave these conversations guide rails. It really helped people bond over shared passions. And while the choice of on-demand media is amazing, it's also slowly eating away at the best part of these fandoms, the connectivity.
Mr. Burns has been shot.
Well, I couldn't possibly solve this mystery. Can you?
Remember when Lost, or Heroes, or even Breaking Bad was on the air? We all watched the shows together. We all talked about them, ruminated on them, and the viewing experience of waiting every week was half the fun. That doesn't happen anymore. Spoilers get thrown online as soon as the episode drops, and most people are so ravenously trained to want the next thing, they don't sit with the shows at all, even when they are released weekly. So now we don't get a new season every 6 to 12 months. Instead, we get a new season every 2 to 4 years. It doesn't seem like this is sustainable. Something has to change. How will that ultimately be resolved? That's anyone's guess. What is for sure? Those Stranger Things kids look old as hell. And well, that's all we have for this episode. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more Nerdstalgic videos just like this.